My dog died in less than 10 seconds. One moment, he was barking, the next, he was on the floor. Shaking. Foaming. Gasping for air, I screamed his name. I tried to hold him. But it was too late, and when I looked up, my mother-in-law wasn't shocked, she wasn't scared, she was watching me. Waiting, like the food was never meant for the dog, it was meant for me. 3 years ago, I married the man I thought would be mine forever. His name is Felix. Felix is kind, hardworking, and the most patient man I have ever known. But there is one person in his life who has never liked me, his mother. From the very first day she met me, I could see it in her eyes, disappointment. She had imagined someone else as her son's wife, someone richer, someone more connected, someone who could give her grandchildren quickly. But 3 years into our marriage, I still had no child. At first, Felix didn't care. He always held my hands and said, "Children will come when the time is right." But his mother didn't believe in patience. To her, a woman without a child was a failure. Every time she visited our house, she would say things that pierced my heart. "A home without a baby is a silent grave," she once said while staring directly at me. Felix always tried to defend me, but the tension in the house never disappeared. Eventually, she stopped visiting us often. And honestly, I was relieved. Life became peaceful again, just me, Felix, and my dog. My dog's name was Bruno. Bruno wasn't just a pet, he was family. Felix bought him for me during one of the hardest times in our marriage. The year doctors told me my chances of getting pregnant were low. Bruno followed me everywhere, kitchen, bedroom, even the bathroom door. Sometimes I joked that Bruno understood my emotions better than most humans. Looking back now, I believe that dog saved my life. It happened on a quiet Saturday afternoon. Emeka had gone to work. I was alone at home cleaning the living room when I heard a knock at the door. I opened it and froze. Standing outside was my mother-in-law, smiling. That alone was strange, because she rarely smiled at me, but what surprised me even more was the large food flask she was carrying. "I cooked for you," she said warmly. For a moment, I thought I had heard wrong. "You cooked for me?" I asked. She nodded, "Yes. Your favorite." Something about that moment felt strange, but I pushed the thought aside. Maybe she was finally trying to make peace, maybe she had accepted me. I invited her inside. Bruno ran to the door, barking excitedly, but the moment he saw her, he stopped, his tail dropped, then he started growling softly. "Control that dog," she said sharply. I laughed nervously. "He's harmless." But Bruno kept staring at her, like he sensed something I didn't. She walked into the kitchen and placed the food flask on the table. The smell filled the room immediately. My favorite soup. I was surprised she even remembered that. She began serving the food into a bowl. Her movements were slow, careful, almost calculated. "Eat while it's hot," she said. I sat down at the table, but Bruno started barking loudly again. "Why is that dog making so much noise?" she snapped. "I don't know," I said. I took the spoon and lifted the first bite toward my mouth. That's when Bruno jumped onto my leg. The spoon fell from my hand. "Bruno!" I shouted. My mother-in-law's face hardened instantly. "Let the dog eat if it wants," she said coldly. Before I could react, Bruno ran to the bowl and swallowed a large bite. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then suddenly, Bruno started coughing. His body began shaking. The bowl fell to the floor. Foam started forming around his mouth. My heart dropped. "Bruno!" I screamed. Within seconds, my dog collapsed on the kitchen floor and stopped moving. I turned slowly toward my mother-in-law, and that was when I noticed something that made my blood run cold. She wasn't shocked, she wasn't worried, she was staring at me, waiting. Like she had been expecting something else to happen, and in that moment, a terrifying thought crossed my mind. That food was never meant for my dog. My heart pounded so loudly I could barely hear my own thoughts. Bruno lay on the kitchen floor, completely still. I dropped to my knees beside him. "Bruno. Bruno, wake up." But he didn't move. My hands were shaking as I touched his body. It was still warm, but he was gone. Tears blurred my vision. That dog had been with me through every lonely moment of my marriage, and now he was lying lifeless in front of me. Slowly, I turned toward my mother-in-law. She was standing beside the table, watching me, quietly. "Something is wrong with your dog," she said calmly. Something about the way she said it felt Cold, too calm, wrong? I whispered, my dog just died. She shrugged slightly. Dogs die sometimes. My chest tightened, no sadness, no concern, no apology. Instead, her eyes moved slowly toward the bowl on the floor, the same bowl Bruno had eaten from. Then she looked back at me, almost like she was checking something. That was the moment a terrible thought entered my mind. What if that food wasn't meant for Bruno? What exactly did you put in that soup? I asked quietly. Her expression changed immediately, defensive. What kind of question is that? My dog just died after eating your food, I said. For the first time, she looked slightly uncomfortable, but it lasted only a second. You are being ridiculous, she said. Then she grabbed her handbag. I think I should leave. Leave, just like that. My dog had just died in my kitchen, and she wanted to walk away. You're not leaving, I said. My voice surprised even me. It sounded stronger than I felt. She stopped near the door. Slowly, she turned around. You think I poisoned your dog? She asked. The way she said it sent a chill through my body. I didn't say that, I replied carefully, but inside, I was starting to believe it. She laughed suddenly, a short, sharp laugh. You young women watch too many movies. Then she walked out of the house, without another word. The door closed behind her, and the silence that followed was suffocating. I sat on the kitchen floor beside Bruno for almost an hour, crying, but as the tears slowly stopped, something else began to grow inside me, suspicion. I stood up slowly and looked at the bowl again. The soup was still there, spilled across the floor. A strange smell lingered in the air. At first I thought it was just the spices, but the more I smelled it, the stranger it seemed.
If you love powerful African stories like this, subscribe to this channel for more shocking stories every week.
Something wasn't right. I grabbed a plastic container from the cupboard. Carefully, I scooped some of the soup into it, then I sealed it tightly. If something was wrong with that food, I stared at the container in my hand. The soup sat quietly inside, like nothing had happened, but I had seen what it did. I had seen how Bruno died. My hands were shaking as I placed it on the table. Then something hit me. When Bruno was barking earlier, my mother-in-law didn't look surprised. She looked irritated, like something had gone wrong, like he had interrupted something. My chest tightened. What if Bruno wasn't supposed to eat that food? What if I was? My phone buzzed suddenly. I flinched. It was Felix. For a moment, I stared at his name on the screen, then a thought crept into my mind. Slow and terrifying. What if he already knew? I swallowed hard and answered the call. Hello. There was a pause, then his voice came through, lower than usual. My mom just called me. My heart stopped. She said something happened at the house. I looked at the container again. My throat went dry, because in that moment, I realized something even more dangerous than the poison. If his mother had called him first, then she was already preparing her own version of the story, and I had no proof. Not yet, but I would, because whatever was inside that soup was not just poison, it was a secret, and once I exposed it, someone's life was going to be destroyed. Felix arrived just before sunset, but this time, he didn't rush inside. He stood at the door for a few seconds, like he was preparing himself. Then he opened it slowly. His eyes met mine immediately, and I saw it, not just concern, doubt. When my mom called me, he said quietly. My heart skipped. She said something happened here. I swallowed hard. What exactly did she tell you? He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he looked past me, and that was when he saw Bruno wrapped on the floor. His face changed instantly. What happened? But this time, the question felt different, not just shock, like he was trying to confirm something. Felix rushed forward. Dropping his bag, he fell to his knees beside the dog. His hands trembled as he pulled back the blanket slightly. What happened? His voice cracked. I swallowed hard. He collapsed. Felix shook his head slowly. That doesn't make sense. He touched Bruno's head gently, like he was hoping for a reaction, but there was none. Silence filled the room. Then he asked, did he eat anything? That question tightened something inside my chest. I hesitated, then I said it. Your mother brought food when she came today. Felix froze slightly. My mom? I nodded. The confusion on his face was immediate. My mom cooked for you? Even he didn't believe it. Bruno ate some of it. The room went quiet. Felix stood slowly, then walked into the kitchen. I followed behind him. The bowl was still there. He crouched down, leaned closer, and inhaled slowly. It smells normal. But something inside me screamed, no. It's not. I opened the fridge and brought out the container. I saved some. Felix turned, his eyes met mine, and in that moment, something changed. Suspicion, not of his mother, of me. You think my mom poisoned the food? The question hung in the air. I didn't answer, but my silence did. Felix ran his hand through his hair. This is crazy. Then he added quickly, maybe Bruno ate something outside. Maybe, but deep down, I knew that wasn't it. I want to test it, I said. He looked at me, long hard, then finally, do it. The next morning, I took the container to the lab. Every step felt heavy, like I was walking towards something I wasn't ready to face. 2 days, the technician said. 2 days, that was all it would take, to either prove I was paranoid, or confirm something far worse. Those 2 days felt like 2 years. Felix barely spoke about it, but I noticed something. He called his mother more than once, and each time, he stepped outside to talk. That was when a new fear entered my mind. What if he was already choosing sides on? The second day, my phone rang. My heart jumped. Hello? Your results are ready. My throat went dry. The sample contains a toxic substance. Everything inside me stopped. Toxic? Yes. It's strong enough to kill a dog. Very quickly. My legs felt weak, and if a human eats it? Silence, then, it could be fatal. I ended the call slowly, and stared into nothing. Bruno didn't die by accident. He died because he ate what was meant for me. Felix read the report. Once, twice, his hands started shaking. This doesn't make sense. But his voice didn't sound convinced anymore. We're going to her house, he said suddenly. When we arrived, she opened the door with a smile, but the moment she saw my face, the smile faded. Felix walked in, silent, controlled. He placed the report on the table. The food you brought. It was poisoned. Silence, a long, dangerous silence. Then, she laughed, not shocked, not confused, just laughing. You finally figured it out. My stomach dropped. Felix stepped back like he'd been hit. Why? Her eyes turned to me, cold, because she is useless to you. The words cut deep. She cannot give you a child. Felix's jaw tightened, but she wasn't done. Do you know how many women are waiting to marry you? Better women. Stronger women. Women who can give you a future. So you decided to kill her? Felix asked, his voice was different now, broken. She didn't answer immediately. Then she said quietly, I was helping you. That was when something inside Felix snapped. You're not my mother anymore. Silence. This time, she didn't laugh. That night, we buried Bruno. The soil was cold while Felix stood beside me, quiet, different. He saved you, he said. I nodded, but as I looked at the grave, something didn't feel finished. Because one thought still lingered in my mind. Something I hadn't told Felix. The day his mother came, she didn't just bring food, she said something I didn't understand at the time, but now, it made sense. She had looked at me and said softly, some problems need permanent solutions. My chest tightened, because now I knew, this wasn't the first time she had thought about it, and maybe, it wouldn't be the last.